If you're a property developer or a construction entrepreneur within the industry and you're running your business here in 2025, I can honestly say that the next few years are going to offer some fantastic opportunities for you to grow, expand your business, and make a whole lot of money within the real estate development and construction industry. However, it is going to come with some challenges. Like anything, if you've been in the industry long enough, you know that there's always challenges, whether it be issues with clients, problems that you have with your cash flow, paying your supply chain. Construction and property development, it's always going to be full of issues. But the key thing that I wanted to talk about in this video is the BCIS, which is the Building Costing Information Service here in the UK, a fantastic company that has a lot of cost data globally on construction rates and where they could potentially be going over the next few years. And they've anticipated that labour costs are still set to be impacted by inflation and rising by over 15% over the next few years. And the problem with continued inflation is that it presents a challenge when it comes to bidding and winning new work if you're a contractor, and also delivering your projects within budget and turning a decent profit if you're a property developer. So I'm going to make a quick video of how you can succeed if you're a property developer or a construction entrepreneur over the next few years, despite inflation continuing to impact on construction projects. My name is Aaron. I'm a Chartered Quantity Surveyor and owner of Hayden Construction Services, a management consultant to the real estate development and construction industry, where I help contractors and property developers like you scale up your business, make more profit, and secure larger contracts. So let's get into the video. So as I mentioned, one of the key challenges that we're going to be facing throughout 2025 and beyond, if you're a property developer or a construction entrepreneur, is this increased continued inflation, which is going to impact on labour rates. So what kind of problems is this going to cause? Well, if you're a construction contractor or a subby, the problem that you have is that it's going to make it very difficult for you to cost profitable construction projects. Now, you could include additional contingency, which covers the risk of increased inflation, but then you run the risk of losing out on tendering opportunities because your price could be too high in relation to your competitors. But at the same time, if you price the job too low, not taking into account the inflation, it means that you could end up losing money on the project. The same kind of goes for property developers. As property developers, we rely on accurate cost data and construction costings, not only for our bank financing or investment, but also our budgets for our project delivery. And what this means if you're a property developer is that you could end up under budgeting and end up losing money on a project, or during the appraisal phase, if you put too much contingency into your budget, it might result in the project being completely unviable, and therefore it will be discredited and written off. You'd never get any financing for it. So it's a fine balancing act. So how do we overcome this? Well, I would say the number one way in which we overcome this is by working with accurate cost information. So if you're working with a chartered quantity surveyor or a construction consultant such as myself, your QS will have access to a whole range of cost data up and down the country, and they will be able to accurately forecast with inflationary projections where the labour rates could stand through to the project completion. It also involves going out to various different subcontractors and trade suppliers. Always a good idea to speak to local trade suppliers in your area just to get an idea of the typical hourly rates for key labourers such as your ground workers, carpenters, bricklayers, electricians, you name it, as well as what you would regard as unskilled labour. So you have your skilled labour, which is those who are qualified, and then you have your unskilled labour, who could be guys who are training up to become skilled labour, but they act more in a kind of support capacity. It's a good idea to speak to labour providers and get an idea of where their rates are currently standing, and also just have a conversation, see what the trends are. Do they intend to increase their rates for those particular labourers? It's about being in tune with the market, really. It's about understanding what's going on. You don't want to be costing jobs with inaccurate data which is not in line with market values, and by being in constant contact with those who are supplying labour or even subcontractors who are going to be providing their resources and their labour to you, you just want to be in constant conversation with them, understand what's going on, ask for the latest rates, and don't just go out to one or two subcontractors or one or two labour suppliers. Make sure that you go out to anywhere between 5 and 10. Now, I know that may seem overkill, But the law of averages works better when you have more information to play with. Now, once you have your average, then you want to add a little bit of contingency on top of that. So a contingency is almost like a little extra bunts that you include on top of those rates to cover any risk on the project. And so by including a little bit of risk, a little bit of contingency into your rates, you're building enough contingency throughout the whole project. And if you're a property developer at this stage and you know that you've gone out to a number of labor suppliers and subcontractors and you have a really good feel for your labor rates and you've also built in enough contingency, if the project still looks profitable, then that is going to give you a lot of confidence going forward because you know that you've done everything that you can to make sure that you have the most accurate rates. The same goes for contractors as well. Contractors are a little bit more in tune with market rates because you probably have more of a feel for what's going on in the market as opposed to property developers. And so this exercise is going to be a little bit easier for you. But again, I wouldn't rule out working with a quantity surveyor because your QS is going to be involved in more projects than you. They're going to be involved in projects throughout the country or throughout the region, so they have a better understanding of regional rates. A good quantity surveyor will also be able to look at your architect's drawings, the scope of works, the specification. They're looking at the job more, I would call it more of a helicopter view. So that they're looking at it from more of a management perspective, thinking about where the contract is going, where the project is going over the next year or so, or 8 months, depending on how long the construction program is. And they're able to build up a full picture of the project, the specific requirements, and then they're able to look at it holistically and provide you with the relevant rates. Now, it's up to you whether you want to go ahead and implement those rates. It may be that you've provided a lot of useful information to the quantity surveyor. You've made their job so much easier, and it's just a case of them stepping into your shoes and understanding it from your perspective as well as theirs so that they can put forward the most accurate rates. And by doing so, you're going to see some very successful outcomes. Not only are you going to be securing work, but you're also going to be securing profitable work. And that's what we want here. Although we all want to win jobs as contractors and subcontractors, we want to make sure that we're making profit. It's profit that makes sense at the end of the day. It's okay in turning over 10, 15, 20 million, 100 million pounds a year, but if you're only making a very small margin, it almost seems like a lot of effort for nothing. So you really just want to make sure that you're profit conscious. And this is, again, it's where the QS comes in, because as a management consultant, it's my job not only to deliver successful projects, but to also make sure that my clients are growing in the right direction. And you can only do that if you're in profit. So that's the benefit in working with a good QS who has access to a lot of cost data. And the same goes for property developers as well. Um, Property developers, you want to make sure that you're meeting margin, because at the end of the day, you still got to pay financing costs on anything that you borrow. So if you end up going over budget and you need to borrow more money, that's more financing costs, and that's going to impact on your bottom line profit. So again, working with the QS, making sure that you have the relevant budget in place, and that the job has been fully costed. There's enough contingency in there to cover the procurement of your contractors, and that you're still going to have enough profit left at the end of the job. Again, this is where I see businesses really growing over the next few years, despite the fact that there is going to be higher inflation on the labor side of things. I think the material side is okay. I think cost data that I've seen says that material inflation is set to start leveling out, and there will be very marginal increases in material costings, but there will be an increase in the inflation. So by getting on top of it from the beginning, you're going to stand a much higher chance of success on your construction projects. So I hope you got something useful from this video. Go ahead and drop a comment below and like this video, and consider subscribing to this channel. Like I said, this is a new channel. I am intending to grow this with the view of really just giving away 20 years of knowledge within the construction and real estate development industry. Hopefully giving away some information that you can implement and grow your business, secure larger contracts and make more profit. And so that's all for today's video. I'll see you in the next one.